Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending the Vrakas Blum Computer Consulting monthly webinar series featuring Credit Hound by Draycir this month. My name is Kelly Bergman, and I'd like to quickly address just a few housekeeping items before I hand the floor over to our presenter. All attendees are in listen-only mode. As we go along, please type your questions into the chat section or the question section on your menu bar, and we'll have a quick Q&A at the end of the webinar. This is being recorded and we'll post on our website and our YouTube channel in the next day or so. Now, with that done, it is my pleasure to introduce Thomas Bedford, Sales and Marketing Manager for Draycir. Thomas assists partners like us to show our valued clients like you how to reduce costs and improve efficiencies by providing document management and credit control solutions that work seamlessly with your accounting software. Now that we're all acquainted, I'll hand the floor off to Thomas.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kelly. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So thank you for taking the time out to join the session today. So like Kelly mentioned, I think we're scheduled in for an hour, but to be honest with you, I think we're around 40 minutes or so. We'll be able to cover everything from the session today. And the way that we're going to kind of structure things is we'll start off with a little bit of PowerPoint, just talking through the solution and talking around collections management as a whole. And then we're actually going to go in and have a look at the product. We're going to perform some collections management. So hopefully by the end of the session today, you'll not only get a good idea about the way that Credit Hound works, but also specifically the way it would work for your own organization. So with that to kick off, I mean, to give you a bit of background into Draycir, you obviously probably tell by my accent. I'm not from the US, I'm from England. So Draycir, we are a UK company. We're based in the UK. We also sell our software, obviously in the UK, but also throughout the US, and we work very, very closely with Sage as well. We're an ISV, which means we don't sell Sage directly ourselves, but we all focus around two particular areas. And as Kelly mentioned, our big focus is around document management and also around collection management solutions, to which we've won lots and lots of awards. And we've got over 10,000 organizations across the world that use our solutions as well. So lots of different verticals, lots of different sectors and industries that we work with. I guess the one thing that they all have in common is they all want to get paid faster. We all want to have more cash in the bank ready for us to use. And our solutions, when it comes to Credit Hound, really helps them and support businesses doing that. So if we take a bit of a step back, and I always like to kind of set the scene a little bit around, why Credit Hound is important and used by, thousands of organizations across the globe. And really it comes down to looking at our everyday businesses, looking at our everyday organizations and the challenges that we have around our organizations. Some real key stats to pull out here, and I won't kind of read them out because everyone can obviously see them from the screen, but to really kind of talk about the foundations of why Credit Hound is important is looking at how much money is owed to our organizations on a monthly basis and what we can do to manage that amount. So if you sell on credit, and if you sell on terms, then the chances are that customers won't pay you on time. And Credit Hound is all about putting a system in place to ensure that they do pay us on time. Now, it's not fictitious, there's a certain methodology of how we ensure that our customers start paying us. And really, if you think of it in terms of your own payments as an organization, who do you pay first? Who do you pay last? Well, I'm sure you tend to pay the people first who chase you, who keep on top of you, who want to engage with you and ensure that you pay their bills on time. Who do you pay last? The people who you never speak to, the people who never chase you for that money. They're the people that tend to be down the bottom of the list. So really it's all about getting ourselves to that top of the list. And as we can see here, that all has an impact of how much money we've got outstanding at any point in time. And as many organizations know, and you probably know, and we won't pick on anyone today to ask them, but I'm sure there's a figure that you have in your mind of how much money is owed to your organization at any point in time. Now, if you take that figure, and if you reduce that figure by 25%, for example, take that 25% reduction, whether it's $10,000, whether it's $50,000, and think what you could do with it within your own organization. Could you invest in new technology? Could you use it to expand? And that's all of what we're addressing. Now, that's all about making the cash flow better and focusing on the kind of the active part of that. But obviously, when we don't get a control of cash flow, it's the one thing that really has a big impact on our business because it stops us developing, it stops us enhancing our organization, and actually it can actually come in the way of, as many of you know, with the day-to-day running of the organization as well. A lack of cash flow can take a business down, and that's from a business of any size, anything from small small medium-sized businesses all the way up to the big multinational corporates. If we look back in history, the reason that they go into administration and they go bust is because the cash flow's dried up, and whether that's because the banks start saying no, or whether it's actual physical cash flow, it all has that same impact. So really, Credit Hound also focuses on another key element of collections management, which is the time it takes in order to chase these customers. So sales is great. The more we sell, the better, and I think everyone's probably on board with that fact. But the only downside to selling lots and lots of product is if we're selling on credit, we've got lots and lots of customers that we need to pay the bill. And often that can be a process in itself. Now, how we deal with that as organizations, again, is quite mixed. Sometimes we employ people specifically to do that, and we employ accounts receivable people, AR clerks, and their sole focus is just to chase money that's owed to our organization and to get it paid as quickly as possible. And depending on how big the challenge is, sometimes we employ multiple people in order to do that. Or sometimes we have organizations where we don't quite want employing someone solely to do it, but it's one job as well as lots of other jobs that we do in accounts. And actually, we class them people as part-time accounts receivable people, or part-time collections management. And often if we can alleviate that, so for full-time AR personnel, it's about making the job as easy as possible, cutting down on the amount of admin. For people doing it on a part-time basis, well, actually, instead of spending 2 or 3 days a week doing collections management, if we can reduce that down to 2 or 3 hours a week, what kind of benefit would that bring to your organization? To free that person up so they can spend more time doing I'm sure they've got a list as long as their arm of all the different other duties that they need to perform. If they can spend more time doing that and less time doing collections management, but actually then on top of that, get more money in to the business and cut down the amount of money that's owed to the business, then that's really where Credit Hound comes from. And this isn't us just kind of talking about the theory. This is the realistic achievements of what people get from using the Credit Hound application. So if we can cut down the manual tasks of running off reports and putting notes in a system and checking for diary entries and writing out emails, and we can make that a lot more of a streamlined process so that when we get involved in collections management, we just need to pick up the phone. We just need to pick up the phone and call people. In terms of email chasing and keeping on top of people, Credit Hound's going to do all of that for us. The traditional way of working in AR and working in collections management, being reactive, one of the key ways, and people sometimes, ask us the key question, which is, it all sounds great, Thomas. I would love to reduce the amount of money that's owed to our organization, but realistically, how do you do it? How are you going to go about that? And really the key answer to that is by changing collections management from being a reactive to a proactive process. And what I mean by that is quite often as organizations, we chase the oldest debts, we chase the largest debts, and we work our way down the list to the newest and the smallest, but often we don't get there. And often we come in the next day and we start a new list and we start again at the top with the oldest and the largest. And that's kind of our collections and AR process. Now, actually, what we could do is be proactive. What we could do is chase anyone based on wherever they sit on that chasing cycle. So even if we give someone 30-day terms, but we get to 5 days before their invoice is due, let's chase them for payment. Yes, they're not technically owed yet, but preemptive chasing is one of the most effective chases you'll do to reduce the amount of time it takes you to get paid from organizations. Because how frustrating is it when we speak to those organizations who say, oh, I didn't have a copy of the invoice. Oh, I didn't know that was due. I haven't got it on the system today. But because we're chasing them when they're 10 or 20 or 30 days overdue, and in your mind, I'm sure you think, oh, why didn't you tell us this earlier? Why didn't we identify this problem earlier? Because once we've resolved it, then they're going to make payment with us. Where actually, if we can chase them 5 days before their payment's already due, doesn't matter what payment terms you put someone on in Credit Hound, if it's just 5 days before those terms are due, let's send them out a reminder to say, look, we hope there's no problems. We look forward to receiving payment from you. If there are any problems, then just let us know. We could then chase them when they're 5 days overdue, 10 days, 15 days, however you want that process to work. But the key thing is, if someone's 5 days overdue and they pay, great, that's more money in the bank. If someone's due in 5 days and they pay, again, that's more money in the bank. Or if they tell us any problems that are with the invoice at that point, that's great. We're getting these problems now before we get to 10, 20, 30 days down the line where the money's really outstanding and it starts to have an impact on our cash flow. And that's really the critical thing. Now, the one downside to to proactive and preemptive chasing and chasing people slightly there before they're due on terms, it's the time it takes to do it. And many organizations we work with turn around and say, look, I'll be honest with you, Thomas, there's not enough time in the day to chase the people that owe us without actually chasing people that don't technically owe us yet. And they're exactly right, there isn't. And that's the great thing about Credit Hound, and that's where Credit Hound comes in. If we can automate that chase, so actually I don't have to chase these customers at all, Credit Hound just does it for me, then actually I spend less time doing it and I'm chasing more people at the same time. So Credit Hound is a complete cloud solution. So easy to set up, really kind of straightforward, almost wizard driven to set up. And obviously that's where you work with Kelly and the team to get Credit Hound set up for you as well if you wanted to, and they can offer some assistance around that. But it's a full cloud solution. So you carry on just using Sage 100 the way that you do at the moment, and Credit Hound will just be a replica of what's happening within that system. We can automatically create the emails and we can send those emails out. We can store the chase history in there. So when we send the emails out and the email reminders, it's going to record it against itself. So we know that we can go to that transaction and we can see when the emails were sent, when the conversations were had, and it's instantly going to be recorded. If they reply back to those emails, then it's also going to manage those replies for us as well. So it's going to file them back against those transactions. So outgoing communications, incoming communications can all be managed within the Credit Hound application. We can automate those payment reminders as and when you want them to. But as I mentioned, one of the takeaways from today, whether you look to want to go with Credit Hound or not, is all about preemptive chasing. Can we chase people before those invoices are due? Because if we can, that has such a massive impact on our cash flow and the amount of money owed to our organization, and the aim of reducing that down to the smallest figure as possible. We can look at placing people on disputes so that we don't chase them. So if there's an active reason why people don't want to pay, let's not chase them. A big part of this is customer service. We don't want to chase a customer so hard to pay their invoice that they think, oh, I did business with these guys, but I don't think I'll do business with this again, because they literally hound you for the money and in order to payment. There's always that balancing act between customer service and getting paid. The counter argument is a customer that doesn't pay isn't actually a customer at all. In fact, they're often a hindrance to a business, because to fulfill a customer's order, we've had to outlay goods. Sometimes we've had to outlay services. Sometimes we've had to incur costs ourselves as an organization, and that's before we've even got paid yet. And then if they take longer to pay, that means that we've got to fulfill those costs ourselves. So actually it can have a massive impact on a business to do that. So customers that don't pay on time, aren't really customers until they physically make that payment. So it's all about being proactive, not just reactive on the largest or the latest debts. So Credit Hound we're going to get to in a minute, but as I mentioned, it's a cloud solution. It's a very interactive solution, all designed around the user experience. And we're going to come in and have a look at that. But just before we do, the final thing that we touch upon is return on investment. Credit Hound is an investment, as all software packages are, but it's all about getting return on that. And like I say, there's millions of return on investment calculators that people have throughout the world for all sorts of different applications. Credit Hound is personally my favorite. I don't just say that because obviously we produce Credit Hound, but I always think it looks at the cold hard facts. The cold hard facts are how much money is outstanding to your business. If you sell on terms, you will have money outstanding to your business and you'll know what that figure is. If we can take that figure and we can reduce that figure down by 25%, for example, which is a realistic reduction for turning your credit control proactive and getting on top of all your customers and ensuring you pay you on time. That 25% reduction, as we've got an example here, we could reduce from $800,000 down and reduce that down by $260,000. Now, if you take that $260,000 reduction and you compare that to the cost of Credit Hound on a monthly basis, something starting from $80 a month, for example, then actually that's a massive reduction. Would you pay $80 a month to reduce the amount of money outstanding to your business by $260,000? Yeah, I would. It's a very straightforward reduction. So that's really the key bit around the return on investment calculator. It's available online. Please go to the Credit Hound Cloud website. Again, speak to Kelly and the team. We'll be able to send you a link to it as well. Use it on your own figures. Go through your own stats on it. Get an understanding about how it would impact your organization. But certainly it will have a big impact, and there's really strong ROI from the software. And that's exactly what the software is aimed to do. So you'd be glad to know that's enough of the PowerPoint at this stage, and let's go in and actually have a look at Credit Hound itself. So as I mentioned, Credit Hound's a cloud application. Always exciting for us as a software developer, because it means that we can roll out updates to the product and all of our users get access to those updates straight away, which is fantastic. What we have within the Credit Hound is, as you can see, this is the dashboard when we first log on. But just to point out some parts of the software itself which are quite useful. When we talk about those updates, here we can see that we get notifications of new features coming from within the software, and it's instantly going to give you a notification of what's available to you. You can also send us feedback if you want to. Please do. The feedback's really, really valuable. We use it in actually to develop the features within the product itself. As you can see here, it's detailing one of the new widgets that we introduced to our customers, and that widget was actually just identifying within Sage 100 which customers don't have an email address. Obviously, the big thing around Credit Hound is we can do automated chasing. We can chase people via email, but if we don't have an email address, it makes it a bit tricky to actually send them an email to chase them. So actually, if we can highlight to users and say, you've got 24 customers that are totaling just over $850,000, which don't have an email address for, that means we can't chase them. So therefore, if we go into Sage and we update their email address, then it means that we can start chasing that amount. So a new widget we introduced, and obviously overnight, as soon as next time you log into Credit Hound, that's available for you. And that's how obviously a lot of the features work. We synchronize the data with Sage 100, and then we've got some other bits in Credit Hound, such as things like an inbuilt tour within the software. So if you want to understand and you log in Credit Hound, like we say, to understand the way that Credit Hound works, it will take you on a tour, and it will take you a tour of all the different sections, the widgets, what you can do, how the software works, and so on. So the home screen is all about presenting what is often notoriously quite statistical information and trying to present it in quite a user-friendly format. So we've got to see what our total debt is. We've got how much is not due at this point, how much is overdue, how much is disputed, how much is non-allocated. Non-allocated is important because we're going to chase invoices. And even if we've got money on account, we're still going to chase the invoices unless you allocate and tell us what that particular payments are for. So something to kind of keep in mind. We've got the last customers who have paid us. We've got some aged receivables on here, where our money's at this point in time, and all designed to be quite interactive. So if I want to see who makes up my $1.29 million that are overdue, I can just drill down into that part of the pie chart, and it's going to give me a list of all those accounts which make up that particular figure. Now again, from here I can filter the accounts, I can export it to Excel if I wanted to, and if you'll notice here, we've also got an auto chasing button. Big part of Credit Hound is automatic chasing. Can I chase these customers based on where they sit and wherever they sit in the chasing cycle and that chasing pattern for their invoices? As I mentioned, it doesn't matter what payment terms or what terms you put that person on. So whether you've got a mixture of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 10 days, 5 days, we can work the same way throughout. You know, if we're going to chase people 5 days before they're due, it's 5 days before their 30-day terms, it's 5 days before their 60-day terms. Again, when we relate this back to how we do things manually, quite often that's an additional process. You know, we run off our aged receivables report. We have to go through it with a ruler and a pen, identify who we need to chase and when we need to chase them. Credit Hound does all of that for us. Now, when we look at excluding anyone, we can ensure that we don't include them and they're not included in our automated chasing. So let's start off with that collection path and that automated side of things. So in here now, I can create a collections path, and I can set a collection path for all of my customers. Now, one of the things that we have got in the developments coming not too distant future is you can have different collection paths for different types of customers. Again, as it is right now, if you use the software today, we have one collection path for all of our customers to travel through. But as I mentioned, coming up, we've got in the next few weeks or so is that you'll have multiple collections paths. So you could have different types of customers on different paths going on different journeys. And for those of you less familiar with collection paths, think of it as from the point I raise an invoice through to the point where I want to start legal action on them, and hopefully we never get to that point, but what do we want that journey to be? When do I want to send my first reminder? When do I want to send my second reminder, and so on? So this is the collection path I have currently set up, which is I want to chase them 10 days before their invoice is due. I'm going to also then chase them when they're 1 day overdue and then 8 days overdue. And that's my current path. Now I could add another email chase to it, and I could say, actually, I'm going to chase them, say 10 days, 10-day rule on here, and I could chase them when they're 10 days overdue. And I'm going to pick out one of my strong overdue. Actually, let's go 20. So this is our ultimate rule that we want to add in. and we can create it. So we can say what we want to select and what we want to say to someone when they get to 20 days overdue, and we could add that in, and that could be part of our rule there, for example. But as I mentioned, coming soon is we're going to have the possibility for you to say, actually, I want to chase this group of customers this way, maybe in this case 10, 1, 8, and 20, but I've got another group of customers and I'm going to chase them differently to that. So that's coming soon. But as we are right now, I can select that collection path, and that means that as soon as someone hits 10 days before they're due, we're going to send out that automated email to them. As soon as they hit 1 day overdue, we're going to send them out another automated email, 8 days and then 20 days from that. And Credit Hound's actually scheduled to send these rules out at 3 o'clock. And again, we pick up local time zones. So as you can, as we mentioned before, I'm obviously based in the UK at the moment, so it's picking up my my GMT time on that. But your local time zone, you set that time zone of when you want Credit Hound to fire up and to send these email automated reminders out. Likewise, it might be that you only want to send automated reminders out for transaction values that are between a certain date range or certain value range, sorry. And that's a really, really good point. We've got lots and lots of Credit Hound customers that just do that. The reason being is if you've got a $15 invoice, if you've got a $50 invoice, you know, how much money is available in that invoice for you to chase that customer before it becomes actually a loss to you? And actually any margin that you're going to make on that invoice has actually been eroded just for the fact that they've paid, you know, 30 days late, you've had to chase them 4 times, you keep trying to give them a call as well, and you can't get hold of them. It becomes unprofitable in order to do that. So often it's the smaller value invoices which are the harder ones to chase. So it may be that you say, if any invoice is between $1 and $1,000, then we put them on an automated chase. If they're more than that, then we put them on a different chase and so on. Or we might chase them manually. So again, we can do that and we can save that. So I'm going to update my chase schedule there, and that's been updated. If I then come into my customer list, I can select a customer. If we've got loads of kind of demonstration customers here. Let's come in and have a look at customers that we've got here, which have got a number of different things happening on their particular account. So you've always got the ability, obviously a big part of Credit Hound is to automate chase and just let Credit Hound get on and chase all of our customers for us based on transactions and wherever they sit in that chasing cycle. As we can see here, this is a UK pounds account, but again, you know, it's just picking up the currency there against that particular account. In this case, then, I'm picking up things like the due date. I'm picking up the outstanding amount on that particular invoice. So it might not be fully outstanding. It might just be partial outstanding. It's also giving us our next action. So against this particular invoice, when are we next going to be due to chase it? Whether am I going to chase it on the 6th of May, on the 3rd of May? It's giving me my next action point. I could add some customer notes in here as I could. So if I want to store some notes against the customer and see some notes in history against the customer, I can do. But I can also then select it individually against the account. Now, as a customer as a whole, I've got this activity, and these are all the different emails that are going out regarding this particular customer at the moment. But if I want to actually narrow it down to an invoice, I can do, and I can see the actual chase record against that particular invoice. So as we can see here, we've got, if I select and drill down to my invoice, I can see all the email communications just specifically for that invoice. Now, it might be that I want to add a note against that invoice to say, yeah, chase them today, try to get hold of them, so I can record transactional level notes within the product itself. And as you can see here, we can see that we're building up that timeline. We're building up that activity timeline. So at any point in time, I can come in and I can see this customer, select an invoice, see exactly what all the outbound emails were and what any notes were for that. We can actually also track the inbound emails, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on. If I wanted to send an email and say, actually, you know, I need to chase this account, I want to do some additional chasing on this account, I can see these invoices here in red listed, are the ones that are overdue. So I'm going to actually go through and I'm going to chase all my outstanding invoices here. I'm going to do an extra chase to what Credit Hound chases, and I want to chase this customer. So let me send them an email. Now, actually here, I can pick out a template. You can create as many different templates within the system as you want to. I've just created some in here based on how strongly worded they are. So yeah, I've got quite a few invoices here that are overdue for this customer. So let me send them a moderately overdue email. And as you can see, it's already been pre-populated with all of those invoices that I've selected to originally on that screen, along with the rest of the wording from our moderately overdue letter, and I can send that out. And that's instantly going to go out for me. So to do what we would class as a manual chase, going into an account, selecting a transaction and chasing it, as you can see, actually, it will take a split second to do that. So no time at all, and we can still get that information available. If I wanted to put an account on a transaction on dispute, because when Credit Hound's doing its automated chasing, I don't want to send that particular transaction. Customer might have been on the phone and they've got a really legitimate excuse of why they're not paying this particular invoice, then let's put it on dispute. And again, I can confirm that that transaction goes on dispute at this point in time, which means that I've now taken them out of that chasing cycle. I'm not going to send them a 8-day overdue email reminder. I'm not going to send them a 20-day overdue email reminder until that dispute's been resolved. And again, I can select it and I can resolve it. Once it's been resolved, it will then go back into our chasing cycle, and we're going to carry on to chase it. So as we mentioned here on the left-hand side, we can have a full drill down of all the timelines regarding our email communication and exactly what emails have been sent. And even though Credit Hound's sending them automatically via our collections pass, they're automatically going to be filed against each of the accounts and each of the transactions they relate to. So again, we don't need to do anything for that. Credit Hound's going to automatically do it for us. The other thing that we can manage within Credit Hound is our inbound communication. So often when we send these emails out, people are going to reply to them. They're going to say, yeah, I'll send, I'll pay that invoice tomorrow, or actually you're in the next email run, or payments run, should I say. So in order to see that, we can come to our communications area. We've just got a little tab here, a notification. As you can see, I've got 16 in here. So I've had 16 people reply to the invoice emails that I've sent. And here I can drill down into them and open them, and I can see those responses. Now, at the same time as responding to us, they've been filed. So they've been filed against the account and against the transactions they relate to. So if they just say, yep, I'm going to put you for payment, I'm going to make payment in the next run, that's fantastic. We've logged that, we've recorded it, it's automatically done it for us. If we want to then reply, then we can go and we can put together a reply. And again, we can put a reply within Credit Hound as well. All of this communication is going to be linked to the transactions they relate to. So it's all really, really easy, really straightforward to us. And like I say, one of this is the key aspects for, certainly for someone, for people who are performing AR processes, doing collections management. It's all around that kind of, when we step in and when we actually do collections management, I want to step in and have to do the human element. I don't want to have to step in and do the automation side. So if we know those emails are going out, if we know they're getting managed as they come back in, then actually when I log into Credit Hound, I just need to go in and action these 16 here, the 16 people that have replied to me that I can then manage. I don't need to file them. That's all done for me. I just need to, any that I need to action, I can then reply back to. So it's all about taking the bit that when we do dedicate time to it, doing the human element of the decisions we need to make, rather than doing any kind of the manual element, which can be handled by Credit Hound. So that's a bit of a whiz through of the Credit Hound application. To then come back over to our slides. Oh, let me do this. So what do people think of people who have actually, some of the user testimonials we always like to publish of people that actually use Credit Hound. So obviously, as the software authors, as you can probably tell from myself, we're really passionate about Credit Hound. We're really passionate about collections management. We don't feel there's a need now for people to sit with lots of money outstanding to their organizations or spending a lot of time doing it, because there's systems out there, such as Credit Hound, for example, which will really automate this process for them. And we really want to see these kind of manual tasks as being as a thing of the past. These kind of technologies now are really, really easy to try and automate this very, very common, very, very standard business process, and really putting some automation around it. When we look at our case studies here, and this is just a snapshot of people that use Credit Hound, it's all around the messages that we've already kind of spoke about today, which is reduce, the top one there, Inspire Healthcare, reduce the amount of money owed to their business by $196,000. That key stat, how much money is owed to their business, has instantly been reduced within the first 6 months of using the product. Where, the middle one that we've got, within the first week of using the product, they reduced the amount of money that was owed to them standardly by over $10,000. So instantly there's a massive return on investment of using the product. And then down to the final stat that we have, which is time. Sometimes it's not always the money that's owed to the business, it's the time that we're spending doing the process as well. Taking 6 to 12 hours a week and reducing it down to 5 minutes a day. Again, if you relate that back to the week, then you're turning 6 to 12 hours down to 25 minutes a week. So even if you had the same amount of money outstanding, but if you can reduce the amount of time you're doing it from 12 hours to 25 minutes, that's a massive benefit in itself. But actually, we don't just do that. We reduce the amount of money outstanding as well. So we spend less time doing it and also get more money in. That's really the kind of the killer concept and what people achieve from using the Credit Hound product. So I guess wrapping it up towards the end, then really we're so confident in the Credit Hound solution that we do offer a free trial of it. So we recommend, if you're interested in it, you're more than welcome to sign up for a free trial. Obviously, you might need some help from Kelly and the team, and that might be a chargeable element for them to support you and to get you up and running within the software. But certainly, that trial is available. We're very, very confident that when people start using the product, they carry on using the product for a long time. In terms of the cost of the solution, starting from anything from $80 a month in order to do it. And again, I always ask you to relate that back to the return on investment calculator. That figure that you've been through on the calculator, what you could achieve. Is it worth investing something like $80 a month to get a saving of, $50, $60, $70, $100,000 saving? Because that's realistically what you achieve. And also, lastly, speak to Kelly and the team. They all know the Credit Hound application. They'll work with you and assist you on it. If it's got any questions around it, then everything that we do is through our business partner network. Kelly and the team, have a chat with your account manager and sales representative around the solution. They'll be able to ask you, answer any questions, and certainly talk to you about the next steps. So in terms of our formal presentation, I guess that's what we'll bring it to a close. Now, if I throw it back to Kelly, if we've got any kind of questions that have come through.
Doesn't look like we have any questions. You just answered all the ones I had about taking up a free trial, and looks like they should just reach out to us and we can help them through that.
Yep.
So it looks like we're pretty good.
Okay, great stuff. So yeah, any free trial, then obviously speak to yourself, Kelly, and the team in order to do that. Starting point, as we mentioned there, from kind of $80 a month upwards. But again, any kind of quotations and stuff will come from yourselves, Kelly, and the team.
Yeah, we'd be happy to help anybody with that. Excellent. So that looks like it is everything. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to quickly thank Thomas for his time today. What a great way to spend almost an hour here. Great product. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. Vrakas Blum Computer Consulting would also like to thank all the attendees for taking time out of their busy day to join our monthly webinar series. We know your time is valuable. And in closing, should you have any questions at all, please reach out to anybody on the VBCC team or Thomas directly. And thank you and have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.